In this week's video, everything you wanted to know and more about installing solar panels on your campervan.
And why we went for electric cooking over gas cooking.
Big news, grand reveal. The outer perimeter is fully on. All the bits which I know are final have been Loctited in. So all the brackets are Loctited in there, finalised. They've got little HDPE spacers here for galvanic corrosion issues, which I may go into if someone really wants to talk about that exciting topic. The back mounts are in permanently. This mount is in roughly, because I'm not entirely sure where it's going to land. And now we're going to go and stick a solar panel on there, which is very exciting.
Roy.
Hooty.
Many a campervanist before us has instead opted for gas cooking in their campervans instead of solar power. Why have we opted for solar?
I'm trying to avoid using gas in the campervan. One, because if it leaks, it explodes, and that's kind of bad news. Two, you're using gas in a very small, confined space, so all the combustion byproducts are going to be a lot more concentrated than in a house. And three, when you burn gas, the gas literally turns into water. When the gas reacts with the oxygen, it turns into water vapour, goes into the campervan. Campervans already have issues with water, vapour and condensation. Electric rather than gas is the hope. So the way I've sort of designed this whole system is I've got these custom Z brackets which are designed so that the solar panel, when there is this bit of aluminium extrusion up against it, the solar panel is flush with the top of the aluminium extrusion, or close to flush. Close enough that there's going to be no shading, but also means it's much more aerodynamic. So I've got these custom made up because the ones that you get from Renogy are not quite suitable for this mounting method if you want it to be essentially a flush thing. So I did, so there we go. I got these fabricated, I CAD'd them up, got them fabricated by Xometry.
Did look a bit precarious when it was hovering above my head.
Oh no, it's fine. It doesn't hit me. It's all going very well, apart from Hooty just walked off and left the ladder where I can't get to it. So I'll give her a call. Hello, Hooty. Very nice.
Why have we gone for 800 watts of solar?
The downside of electric cooking is it uses a lot of power. We need to try and replace that, so we've gone with as much solar power as we can get onto the roof.
In comparison, how many watts does our house use?
Well, actually, on average, our house uses, like, over a 24/7 period, about 200 watts. So theoretically, the solar array could actually probably, in the summer, power our entire house if we were careful.
Oh, very good.
I'm using M6 hardware here rather than M8 because I'm not using Loctite on these connections, because I want to be able to take these off relatively easily if I want to. And if I'm using Loctite, it's a pain because Loctite gums up threads on these T-nuts and then they're annoying to reuse. So I'm not using Loctite, and because I'm not using Loctite, it means I need to torque them to spec. And if I'm going to torque an M8 bolt to spec on this roof rack, it's just too much. But I can torque an M6 to spec, no problem. So I'm using M6. Start off with some washers. These are not stainless. This is zinc plated M8, zinc plated grade 8 bolt and galvanized washers. Note to say galvanized, not zinc plated. These are hot dip galvanized washers, so they're much thicker galvanized coating, so they will last for longer against the aluminium, which is going to want to corrode them, because there's like probably 20 times the thickness or more of zinc on these washers than there is on a standard like zinc plated rather than hot dip galvanized. So the first thing that's going to corrode is these washers, and that is fine because I'll be able to see that, and if corrosion's an issue I can replace the washers no problem. I don't want the aluminium to be the bit which is sacrificial, which it would be if I was using stainless and relying on that. Get the washers in the middle. I'm using some big fat washers here to spread the load out nicely. Click. I'll torque these properly later, but I've got a bit of experience of what this should feel like. And we are done. Remove my packers. I'll bolt the other side in tomorrow. Pleased with that. Good times. You would be forgiven for thinking that this video is out of order. Why are there 4 solar panels in the shed? Well, there's a reason for that. They've come back off the van. Renergy say that on each panel you need to use a minimum of 4 mounting brackets. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I looked at their information about the Z brackets that they sell, and they say for solar panels above 150 watts to 200 watts you need to use a minimum of 8 brackets. I was like, oh wait, what? And this sparked a memory from long in the distant past, and I remembered my 3D model I had for this van, where basically I had 3 brackets on each side, much like this panel, which if I go backwards slightly you can see on the left we have 3 brackets, on the right we have 3 brackets. And the reason for that is because the Z brackets say there's a maximum span you should have between the Z brackets of 1 meter. And this span, when I use the outer holes, is greater than 1 meter. And then I remembered, yes, from my 3D model I had 3 brackets and I staggered them. So on one side of the panel I have the brackets higher up, and on the other side of the panel I have the brackets lower down so that they don't clash when they're on sharing a rail on the van. So I remembered that. I thought, bugger, I should do that, because this is quite a long unsupported edge. It would be nice to have an extra bracket here, and if I'm doing that I might as well just do my original plan of 3 brackets on each side. Now the only problem is the panels don't actually come with a mounting hole for here or here. There's nothing. There's an earthing point, but the earthing point's slap bang in the middle. If I use this, these brackets are going to go and collide when they're sharing a rail. So I needed to add an extra hole for a bracket. And this bracket here is just equidistant from this one to here. That's just in the middle, so that reduces the span as much as possible. So drilling into solar panels needs to be done with some amount of caution. It's good to learn from mistakes, and it's even better to learn from someone else's mistakes. And the mistake I've seen with drilling into solar panels is you're applying some pressure to get through the aluminium, but you can't stop the drill bit once it's gone through the aluminium, and it just launches itself into the back of the panel and damages the panel, damages the cell, and damage to one cell on a panel can really massively affect the performance of the entire panel. So the way to stop myself from drilling into the back of the panel is to try and make it physically impossible. Firstly, I have the panel's PPE, personal protective equipment. It's got a block of wood underneath it, so if I slip or whatever, I'm hopefully going to hit the wood and not the panel. But the best bit is my drills are both set up with depth stops. So this little bit of plastic pipe makes it impossible for the drill bit to actually drill into the panel. I don't need to worry about being careful. Well, I will be careful anyway, but this will make it physically impossible for the drill to actually go into the panel. Let me demonstrate. This is why it's good to have two drills. Next drill set up, ready to go. There we go.
Why did we opt for solid solar panels instead of floppy ones?
Yes, flexible solar panels, they don't really mean you can normally flex them forever, but it allows you to form them to a shape, much easier to install. You can bang them on the roof of a van, very easy, just glue them down. Much lighter weight.
Sounds like it would have been a good choice.
Oh, absolutely not. There's pros and cons, right? They're less efficient. So for the same area of solar panel, you get less power out of a flexible one compared to rigid. There also isn't an air gap underneath them. So with our rigid ones, we had to make this complicated roof rack, which you wouldn't have to do with flexible, but there is an upside to complicated roof rack. Hello, loud bird. Rigid panels on a roof rack have side benefits. One is the rigid panel is spaced off the roof of a van, so the rigid panel gets cooled underneath, which makes it more efficient, and also it shades the van, and it also makes the van quieter when it's raining. We don't have big massive water drops going. Yes, so pros and cons, but if you've got limited space and you can afford the weight and you can make the complicated roof rack, then rigid's the way to go. That's better. How are we doing cable management? So we are using the extrusions to run the cables through. They're very, very handy. These are completely smooth. There's no chafing which is going to happen here. So we're running the solar panel cables through here, just cable tying where we need to. Then the only issue we're having with potential chafe then is where I've got these angle brackets to support these beams. Now, in the original plan, these angle brackets to support the beams were going to be on the outside, but these are too short. So the angle brackets are now on the inside, which is where the cables want to run. So I've added these bits of garden hose, split down the middle, and cable tied in place to keep these where they want to be. That's the overall strategy. Use lots of cable ties, but they're easy to maintain, they're cheap, why not? And the thing I wanted to avoid was like stick-on stuff, because roofs tend to get really hot, and the bottom of solar panels also gets really, really hot. So like self-adhesive stick-on things for cable management don't really work very well, or the glue might fail, it'd be annoying. So yes, by this method, all the cables running on the inside, there's no visible external cables. Everything is protected from the worst of the weather and completely protected against UV, which is can't hurt. And there shouldn't be any chafe at all. Advantage of these expensive aluminium extrusions, because as I say, this is completely smooth. This cable's not going to move around once the van's driving. All of these are in and set nicely. Last panel coming on now. Very exciting. So this is not going to be elegant because we left the last panel as being the one on the end of the van. This was left to last because this is where the cable entries were and they weren't in place yet. Now the problem is I can't stand on this because this roof is really, really weak. I want to stand on the roof rack, all these bits of timber only. Yeah, so I'm basically going to have to try and Spider-Man across this thing and not fall onto a solar panel and break it, or fall off the van and break me, or fall onto this bit, and I don't know. This is going to not look elegant. It is. That was surprisingly okay.
There we go.
Excellent. And down. Just so you can see how terrible this is. Running out of van. Okay, so push it very slightly my way. And again. Okay, and that's it. I think we did it. This is precarious.
You can't see, but he's gripping with his toes. Okay.
Okay, you got that?
Yeah.
Whew. It really is that easy. That was quite fun.
So, why did we go for Renogy over other suppliers?
No particular reason. They were a good price at the time, and really I just looked everywhere for solar panels which happened to be a dimension which gave us the most amount of solar on the van. They all come in different shapes and sizes, so it's just chance that these particular ones were a really good size for us.
I see, and how much did they cost in total for the 4 panels?
£422.
Pretty good.
Yeah, they were like a deal on at the time.
Very good. And we have, due to editing taking a long time, we have actually had 3 months of use now out of these solar panels. How would you rate them so far?
Very, very, very good. It's an 800 watt system, and on a bright overcast day we're seeing more than 250 watts coming out of them. So I was expecting closer to 100. So yeah, overcast day, 250 watts during normal, reasonable daylight hours means that it should supply all the needs of our van.
Very good.
The last panel is now wired up. Cable managed as best as I can. So you can see I've got these cable ties absolutely everywhere to try and string everything through. I got the cables going into their glands. Not tightened up, but it's all looking good. And now we're ready to drop the panel and just get a couple of bolts in tonight, so it doesn't blow away. Wow, and we are down. That looks amazing, if you ask me. I love it. Get a couple of bolts in.
In next week's video, join us as we devise a solution for internal campervan bike storage.